Welcome to the Daily Deuce. I'm Gary Graves from just outside overcast Louisville, Kentucky, and in Maryland. Not sure what the weather's like there, Big John, but how you doing, Mr. Webster?
Doing real good, Gary. Everything's going well. Another big week in sports. Looking forward to sitting down talking to you about it. We got some NCAA women's basketball, NCAA men's basketball, and NFL free agencies signings or announced signings started yesterday. So we got a little bit to talk about, man. But let's get started with the women's NCAA. We're right around the corner from the tournament, and they started having their postseason conference tournaments. What do you know? South
Well,
Carolina goes down. What do you know? UCLA wins by 50.
yeah. Well, John, only thing I can say about that, okay, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And that means UConn is still number one. They're still the number one seed or going to be the number one seed when the brackets are announced this coming Sunday, along with the men. You know, before I get into that, John, championship week or weeks are two of the greatest weeks in sports. If pitchers and catchers report is the greatest day in sports for us baseball fans, but basketball, college basketball championship week is probably the next best thing, probably the best overall thing because we get to see how March Madness is set up. Like I said, on the women's side, UConn, some has basically cemented his place as number one. Although I think UCLA winning by 50 to win the Big Ten, that will probably weigh on the committee's minds. I mean, I don't think that they're going to topple UConn, but they're going to give some serious thought. Texas, Texas beating South Carolina from the start and holding on. Not a surprise, but yeah, like you said, down goes South Carolina. Um, if there was ever a loss that I think South Carolina needed, John, and you know how we're always talking about, well, it's good for a team to have a loss before the tournament because it's one and done and all that stuff. That might be the loss that they need to kind of do a reset and a reassessment because, John, you as a coach know you learn more from a loss sometimes than you do from a win. And let's
Hmm.
see, number four, who were we thinking about? Number four, South Carolina, Texas. Oh, and South Carolina, despite losing, they might be a number one seed. Um, I'm not ready to put Duke up there yet, even though they came back against Louisville and beat them in overtime. Really just took that game. Um, that was, here in Louisville, that was a hard one to watch if you're a Louisville fan because it was right there in their grasp in the final minute, and they let it slip away and just never got it back in overtime. And you think about one or two plays, and you try to say, well, it's not one or two plays. That game did come down to one or two plays. Having watched the SEC on Sunday right after that, to see Texas just race to a 14-0 lead on the Gamecocks and just not looking back was impressive. And congratulations to the Longhorns and Vic Schaefer. I think this is what his second team that he's guided to a tournament conference title, which I think is a milestone. But wow, it's I think those are your four number one seeds, and you give me your thoughts on that if you agree in that order.
Well, UCLA, not much to say when you beat a team by 50 some, just hey, it
Does
is.
that surprise you at all, though? I mean, that it was
I,
just that dominant.
I thought they would win, but I thought Iowa would make it a little bit more closer than that. Iowa's really had a good season this year. UCLA is really a powerhouse, but I thought Iowa being Iowa and being able to be sharpshooters and everything, I thought they would maybe not beat them, but it'd be a little bit closer. UConn is UConn. They are flat out the best team in the field.
Yep.
without saying. Um, who else you got there? You got Texas. They took down they took down South Carolina. That game, honestly, Gary, was not a game at any point. You
Mm-mm.
start off 14 nothing, and South Carolina never regained their footing. South Carolina, I think, is a very good team. They're one of the two, they're about the second or third best team in the country. But once they get behind like that, and it's been shown last year, like with UConn, they have a hard time. If they're not built for to come back from double digit deficits. I don't think. They did try a zone. I've been harping about that for 2 years. Did not work out well for them. So I see why Dawn Staley doesn't do a zone. I'll say it like that. Duke game.
For what it's worth, the man wasn't working for him that much either. Wasn't working that well for him either against
No,
Texas.
no.
And
They
what
just
what
from the
more can you say
start.
about Madison Booker?
Yeah, from the start, they didn't have. Give credit to Texas and Vic Schaefer. I still say I look back to Vic Schaefer and that speech he did about 3 weeks ago, how bad they were. Man, oh man,
Yeah,
27-3, and they're bad. But it is what it is. They're a tough team. Um, Duke. No, who's the fourth one? It's South Carolina, Texas, UCLA, UConn. We did all four of them.
yeah.
South Carolina is probably going to go out west. Texas is probably going to be in the Fort Worth bracket, which is basically going to be a home game for them. So
Mhm.
it'll be a lot of fun. What
Do
else
you
do we
think
have?
South Carolina should be a number one seed?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
We agree on that because a loss like that, when you're ranked third and you lose to the team just below you, it's kind of a toss up at that point, and I don't think that
Well,
hurts them.
all you could do is flip flop Texas and South Carolina because the team
Yeah.
below both of them was LSU, and LSU had already lost to South Carolina twice. They
Yeah.
lost the day before in the tournament. So yeah, I think they got it right. The Duke game, I never look at games in one play. I never do.
Yeah.
But this is why you say never. Because I think the Duke game turned on one play. Louisville's up 57-53. They're bringing the ball up court and they get a 10-second violation.
Hmm.
In my opinion, I think that changed things.
Yeah.
Also, I think Duke's relentless pressure on the boards there were rebounds that Louisville should have had. They couldn't get both hands on the ball. And this is even when Fournier had fouled out. They were
Hmm.
still controlling the boards, man. The
Yeah.
kid Jackson, she's tough down there getting boards and everything. So hats off to Duke. I think they're a solid number two seed. They're going to be hard to beat because they are so sound defensively. They're so tough and they crash the offensive board so well. So, we'll see. Notre Dame's going to probably get, not probably, they will get in. They're going to be about a fifth or sixth seed. Don't know how long it'll last. They had a chance to beat Duke
Duke.
on
Yeah.
Saturday, couldn't pull it out, lost by two. They had three shots in the last 11 seconds or so and couldn't
Yeah.
nail any of them.
Yeah. And I thought they should
Maryland,
have gone for twos. I thought they
yeah,
should have gone for twos as opposed to threes.
yeah.
Because we always talk about, twos work. You needed a tie. I mean, yes, I understand going for the win and maybe not giving Duke an extra 5 minutes like Louisville did on Sunday. And one thing about Louisville, I think they went from maybe a three seed to a four seed with that loss. But if they were a five seed, that wouldn't surprise me because Louisville is a team that's not built to come from behind at any point. I think I've only seen maybe one game
Mm-hmm.
this season where they rallied to win, and against Duke, it's it's up here with them right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Duke is living rent free in their heads, whether they want to admit it or not. And again, that happens with Texas. You always say it's hard to beat a team three times in a season, John, and I think you're unbeaten on that one as well.
Hmm.
And that's what it is. Eventually you figure it out. I can't say that South Carolina was necessarily tired in that game because the Gamecocks and the Longhorns both were uh, double seeded teams or had double byes, so they played the same number of games. It's just that Texas found its game and they took it to them right from the start.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's going to be an interesting tournament. We're going to see how that's going to play
You were saying
out.
about Maryland, though. That was curious about that.
Yeah, they lost in the first round to Oregon. I think Maryland's going to end up like a 4 or 5 from what I'm reading, and even will be playing in College Park for the first 2 games if they make the first 2 games. And like I said, they'll be a 4 or 5. We'll see how that goes. But next up, the men's conference tournaments playoffs championships. So man, do the teams still hold on? Does Duke stay a number one seed? I really think they will. You got Florida up there, you got Arizona up there, and I think you got UConn. I think those are the four. Even though UConn lost the Big East,
Long, yeah, yeah,
so
yeah, to St. John's, and you know, um, well, I agree with you on Duke, because even in a tournament, where you say that anything can happen, that I remember a coach. Oh gosh, I keep wanting to say not Pete Carroll. God, he coached Xavier. But I remember, he just said Duke is Duke, and he said it in a New England accent. He said, yeah, they're on TV more than Leave It to Beaver reruns, like that, which was always one of my favorite lines. But again, Duke is Duke. And for all the talk about what they lost with Con Knappel and um oh God, Cooper Flag last year, that the boozers basically, there was a reset. Cameron Boozer, John, grown man, just a grown man. That's all I could say. And,
yeah,
and and I'm not
he's tough.
trying to, it's painful for me to gush over a Dookie as a Maryland grad, but you just got to give credit where it's due. That is a man's man right now, and I think he can carry Duke far. But really, the team that surprises me that I think really you got to watch in their tournament is Michigan.
Hmm.
Um,
That's who I miss. Michigan's the number one. It's not UConn. Michigan's the number one. So it
yeah.
would be Michigan, Duke, Florida,
Oh man,
and
Florida.
Arizona.
Yeah. Florida, what I saw against Kentucky on Saturday, what you probably saw as well, was a team that just had to find its identity. I think early in the SEC schedule where we were wondering, what it wasn't so much what kind of team they were going to be. It was just wondering, um, would things get worse? And
Hmm.
they got better, and right now they're probably playing their best ball. Um, they've got the number one seed. They look almost as formidable as last year's championship team. I can't see anybody knocking them off unless Florida has a bad day. I think anybody that goes through them, that has to face the Gators in that tournament, better bring their best game. I can tell you it won't be Kentucky. Kentucky has a whole lot of issues. Um, I think they're solidly in the field. They might be probably a 9 seed. I think that was the last projection I saw for them. But they are very close to falling farther on the bottom half of the bracket because they they can't figure it out early on, and by the time they catch up, it's too late. And you can't do that in the tournament. You can't do that in the SEC tournament. And the way that they're set up now, they're going to have to win one, two. They're going to have to win basically five in a row to win the conference. To be
Hmm.
solidly in the field and improve their seeding, they have to win at least two games. I think they can do that. I don't know if they will, because when you are playing Wednesday to Sunday, that's tough. But when you're playing Wednesday, Thursday, and then you get to the quarterfinals against the rested teams on Friday, that's when the rubber meets the road, so to speak. And I think it's going to be very, very tough for Kentucky. Here in the beautiful bluegrass Commonwealth, there are, grumbles that Pope should be fired. To that I say, shut up. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it because this is a second year coach. He's had to deal with injuries to three of his main players. And yes, teams go through injuries. And yes, they reportedly spent $20 million in NIL money on this roster. But again, sometimes you just misfire. And I think that's the case. That's been the case even before the injuries. But talking about firing a coach that took you out of the first weekend of the tournament last season for the first time in something like 6 or 7 years, and now you want to run them out of town because, well, they're not dominant. Yes, I know what the expectations are, but for him to get 19 wins, for Mark Pope to get 19 wins out of this cobbled together roster and rotation, I think is impressive. They can't he can't rest on that, and I don't think he's going to rest on that. And I think next year is probably going to be really the most telling year because that's when I think he has a better grasp of the recruiting scene for what Kentucky needs. Um, I think, as this whole NIL transfer portal landscape plays out, that I think he'll start getting the better players. I just think the collection that he has, other than Otega Owe, um, maybe they just weren't as good as last year's roster in terms of what they brought in. And he's got to look for those same top caliber guys from the mid majors that he drew in his first year for his first roster. This team wasn't it.
Yeah, I'm with you, Gary. I think Pope has done a good job. I don't think you need to look at replacing him as a coach. You need to try to build upon what he's done. I think he's done a really good job this year. He had some, obviously, the team he had last year is better than what he had this year. And he's had to, make some adjustments on the fly. But we'll see. I think they make the tournament. I don't know how far they go. I tell you, Michigan looks really tough. They are big. Um,
That what they did to Michigan State again was impressive because I don't know if I was more impressed with that game or the one that where they beat them in East Lansing earlier in the season because
they 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 both were impressive.
yeah, but I think for Michigan after losing to Duke to just do what they did for the Wolverines to do what they did um, twice and establish themselves as a solid number one seed. I really do think that that's it's something worth watching. And John, by the time this weekend plays out, it wouldn't surprise me if Michigan was a number two overall seed.
You think Michigan State will be a number two?
No, no, I mean Michigan.
You think Michigan's going to be a number two seed?
Do you think Michigan State will be a number two?
I'm confused. Wait a minute. Are
Oh,
you saying Michigan's going to be a number two seed?
okay. Let me look at the rankings here because I want to make sure I am speaking well here.
Because I
Yes.
can see Michigan State being a number two.
Okay. Michigan's number three overall in the latest AP rankings.
So they'll be a number
Um,
one seed.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, John. I said number. I meant to say number two overall seed. That's what I.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm
Okay.
sorry. That's what I meant to say. Yeah,
Yeah.
they will be a number one seed, but the number two overall. They'll be number one in whatever bracket they put them in, and it'll probably
Hmm.
be the Midwest bracket if
Hmm.
all holds. I'm sorry for misspeaking on that. Um, yeah, I mean, just what may.
I think Michigan State will be a number two seed.
Yeah, Michigan State will be a number two seed. Yeah, yeah,
I
in
think
whatever bracket they're in.
overall, I think Duke could be a number one and a number one seed.
Hmm.
Um, Florida, Michigan, Florida, and Arizona, put them all together. I still think they're even. To me, it really doesn't matter with those three teams who is the overall number two because I think they're very good teams, very good teams. And I think they are almost evenly matched. I mean, you can put Duke in there. They all are just very good teams. I think your number two seeds are going to be interesting. Your number twos are going to be UConn, Michigan State, Houston. Those three teams can beat any of those number one seeds. And I hear what you're saying. Michigan has put it on Michigan State twice. If they meet a third time, I'm not sure they can do that again.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. What about Nebraska?
they're fun to watch. They're interesting to watch. They play like Hoiberg. They put up the threes. They're gritty. I'm just not sure how far they can go, Gary. They're interesting, though. They're interesting to watch.
Yeah, I mean, just yeah, like you say, interesting is the best way to describe them. Um,
And also, what you and I have been talking about for the last 2 weeks, it looks like it's getting ready to happen. I was hoping it would not happen. Miami of Ohio is getting ready to go into their conference tournament undefeated. Really didn't want that to happen because they can't lose now. Because I still stand on what I said. If they lose, they will not get in.
Sad but true.
You know, I,
Sad but true.
and I
Um,
wish I was wrong. There's a team There's a team in the state of Alabama who I hope they get in before they are left out. And I'll just say that. There's a team in
uh,
Alabama I want Miami of Ohio to get in before. That's all I'll say.
okay. That team from Alabama has to win at least two games in the tournament.
I would think they have to take the whole tournament. That's just my take.
Well, okay. Okay, I'll grant you that. I mean, if you run the table, yeah, you're an automatic qualifier, and yeah, we're not having a discussion at all. But how many teams, how many games do you think Auburn, since you don't want to mention the name, but I'll go ahead and do it. How many games do you think they have to win to cement their credentials?
And you're talking about in my opinion or what's
Yeah,
realistic?
both.
In my opinion, I think they should have to take the whole thing.
Okay.
What's realistic, I think they need to win three.
Okay. I would agree. But
So
if they get to Saturday, if they get to the semifinals, then we're not having this discussion at all. Yeah, I mean, it's end of story. I think they're solidly in because when you run that kind of gauntlet, not only during the regular season, but in the postseason, to get to that point where you're possibly facing a Florida. And as I look at this bracket, and I just had it up. Um, let's see. Trying to think of who they would have to go through. But either way, I think they'll be in a position where they have to face Florida or hold on, let's see, basketball. Want to make sure I get this right. Okay, Auburn, number 12. They win against Mississippi State. They would have to face Tennessee in the second round. They get to the quarterfinals, the winner of that game, then they'd have to play Vanderbilt, which is no easy squad. Vanderbilt is a dangerous team, in my opinion. That's the one I
Hmm.
think nobody can afford to look past. If they can get past Vanderbilt, then of course, you're on a collision course with Florida, provided Florida gets through its game, which it probably will. Um, Again, the team for me to watch, because, well, everybody keeps an eye on Kentucky. They have to play LSU. Then they would have to face Missouri. And if they get past Missouri, then they have to face the Gators for the third time. Draw any conclusion from that you will. It's just going to be tough against that squad,
Yeah,
period.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. You're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
yeah. I mean, again, Florida is playing its best basketball. I don't think anybody really doubted them. It was just that they just they weren't trending well in late January. They just weren't. And
Hmm.
uh, um, I always wondered, John, what would happen with what would have happened if they were playing like divisional ball. Um, as opposed to say, everybody like all 16, 18 teams or something like that,
Hmm. Hmm.
bunched together like that because it's again, it's pretty clear that they are the top team, but I just wonder how competitive it might be if they go back to divisional play. And with all of these conferences, that's something that's on the table. Um, I don't care what kind of reforms that they're talking about in terms of college sports. I do think what you said about maybe creating four conferences and maybe make them geographic. I mean, you keep the top four as is, but some teams leave, some teams come in, and it becomes more geographic. That's something that we can do down the road. But the I think the tournament as it's set up, the SEC and in particular, that's one where Florida is the best team, and that's a
Hmm.
team I think is worth watching.
It's going to be interesting, Gary. We'll
Yeah,
we'll see. Florida's good, but like I said, those four teams are almost interchangeable to me. Duke,
yeah,
Florida,
yeah,
Arizona, Michigan. I can see any of the four of them just going to the Final Four, if not all four of them. So we'll see.
yeah.
Man, I'm gonna tell you something, man. Another thing was exciting this week. Started yesterday. NFL free agency, or what they call it, the tampering period. You can sign the players tomorrow, but you start talking to them yesterday. A lot of surprises, man. Max Crosby going to the Ravens for two first round picks. That was a trade, but I
Yeah.
think that's going to help the Ravens. The Raiders were really big in free agency. They got the Ravens former tight end Lindenbaum, and they picked up another player. The Dolphins released Tua. I'm not even gonna try it. They released
Tiger
Tua,
Bailoa.
yeah, and then he went signed with Atlanta. Then the Dolphins signed Malik Willis. So we'll see how that works out. Interesting thing with the Falcons now. You have two left-handed quarterbacks, so even if somebody goes down, you really don't have to change your offense because you're still left-handed. So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah.
I think Jim
But
Harbaugh was very unique in what he was doing with the Giants. He picked up a punter from the Ravens, Stout, I think his name was, and then he also picked up Isaiah Likely. So I think he's made some good moves already. The Jets, I'm reading, are making some really interesting moves, but Gary, I'll be honest with you. They're still the Jets. So,
Yeah.
um,
I raised my eyebrows when you said that. I was just like, uh-oh, tell me something I don't know. And there's a
I
lot of
can't
things you can tell me
remember.
I don't know.
Yeah, they've made some signings, but I think you still need a quarterback. You still got that dilemma. The Commanders signed a defensive end. Used to be with the Chargers last year. Away, $100 million 4 years, 68 million guaranteed. That should help them on the rush defense. Um, it was interesting, man. It was real interesting to see what's going to happen. They're not done yet. Some other things are still going to happen. You still got AJ Brown sitting out there. You don't know what's going to happen with him. The money is saying he's going to go to the New England Patriots because he used to play at Tennessee with Mike Vrabel. But we'll see what's going to happen, man. Stephon Diggs got released last week, so you got to see where he's going to end up. Um, on the 49ers, they just signed Mike Evans. So what does that mean for Ayuk? And they're definitely gonna let go of Juwan Jennings, but you're gonna
Yeah.
let go
I,
of
that
Ayuk
that was a
too.
good pickup with Mike Evans. I've always been a Mike Evans fan.
I was surprised he got out of Tampa Bay. That really surprised me. So
Yeah, I think he wanted to get out of Tampa Bay.
yeah,
And when I say that, it's sometimes you're with a team and you can just kind of read the handwriting on the wall with where the franchise is going and look at your place in it or the place you might not have in it. And I think sometimes it's time to move on.
yeah. So interesting time of
He's
the
in the
year.
Hall of Fame no matter what.
Yeah. So we'll see what's going to happen. We'll see how this plays out, and we go from there, man. Gary, I'll just ask you real quick, and then we got to close out. What are your thoughts on the NBA right now? You have another week. The Celtics just beat Cleveland. They swept the season series. They also have
Mhm.
Jason Tatum back to playing again. The Lakers got a big win against the Knicks. What do you think, Gary? What do you think?
Well, all of those things, John, those are great storylines, but right now the storyline remains OKC and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. And I mean, what he did in terms of tying Wilt Chamberlain's record, let me see, yeah, tied Wilt with his 126th consecutive 20-point game. John, that's a season and a half of games with 20
Mm-hmm.
points straight with
Mm-hmm.
20 points. That's impressive. Um, OKC they're not invincible. They don't look invincible, but they are still OKC. And only thing about that conference, I still think the line, the line to the championship goes through them. But everything that you said about Boston, New York, Detroit's wobbling a little bit in the East, and there's time to right the ship on that one. But yeah, they just can't afford to fall, too far behind. But looking at SGA and to tie a record like that, which of course speaks to the greatness of Will.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
like to talk about, the most recent superstar, greatest of all time. But, to have that many games and that record, I think stood for something like what, more than 50 something years? I
Mm-hmm.
want to say I want
Mm-hmm.
to say it was like 55 years. That says a lot about Gilgeous-Alexander and just really the kind of team that he has behind him because remember they won the game too on one of his shots. Um, Yes, they've struggled against San Antonio. That's a bad matchup for them, but they probably won't see them until later on in the playoffs. So, but I think you have to look at them. Cleveland's got work to do. Boston, who knows how good Boston's going to be with Tatum back? And of course, since they've won so many games without him, does their rotation change? Does their chemistry change? You know, how,
Mm-hmm.
how many minutes after an injury like that, do you give him to weave him back into the lineup, to weave him back into great minutes in the or big minutes in the rotation? That's what remains to be seen because they no offense to him, but they figured out a way when we didn't think they were going to find a way.
Yep, you're right. You're right. They did, and they're doing well. They beat Denver the other night as well, so they're
Mhm.
moving in the right direction. Gary, go ahead and take us home, man.
Well, enough said. Or what more can you say about conference tournaments, championship week, a smorgasbord, John, which both of us love, of basketball, starting from really today, through the weekend. Before we get to Selection Sunday, and of course, that's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see on Selection Sunday how the rest of the women's field shapes up because we know who the top seeds are, but we just need to know where they're going to be playing. And John, before I even get to that, I need to give some congratulations to Tennessee State for winning the OVC.
Yep.
Um,
Nolan Smith.
Nolan Smith, former Duke and Louisville assistant. Real first head coaching job, and they beat Morehead State, and for an HBCU to win a conference like that, John, is very very impressive. That's a tough conference to win. It's a tough conference. It's been a tough conference for them to compete in, and he comes in and he gets them a championship. Um, Another team that I'm paying attention to is Miami and John Lucas or Jay Lucas. I hope I'm saying it right. John Lucas's son. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, First, real big coaching position. And he's got them as a number four. No, is it maybe a number four seed in the ACC. They have a double bye, and even though they lost to Louisville, that's a team worth watching because I really like to root for sons of Terps and such, but to see young men like that really get their teams competitive, that's what's fun about this tournament. And of course, John, we draw oh so closer to opening day. So enjoy spring training, enjoy championship week, March Madness. And most of all, come back and enjoy us talking about it, even if we get some names wrong or forget some other ones.
Hey, everybody, another great week in sports. Thanks for joining us. Watch some NBA basketball. Watch the NCAA women's and men's tournaments. Going to be really exciting. Watch some hockey. I think I already said the NBA. Watch some soccer and definitely watch the World Baseball Classic.
And
They have
NCAA
some
gymnastics too, John. Gymnastics.
NC, if they're into the NCAA tournament gymnastics as well. Please watch that. But above all else, watch some sports, and we'll see you real soon. Take care.